Hi guys, so my name is Niyamat Mehta. I am a 22-year-old sculptor living in Florence, Italy. I'm from New Delhi and I moved to Italy to train and to study at the Florence Academy of Art. Currently I'm in my own studio here and I'm beyond happy about that. It's like, you know, you're living quite the dream. You have your own studio. The entire city is Florence is a studio, so it's really inspiring to me. So I started sculpting when I was really young, like 13 or something, when I was at boarding school in Sanaa, and I was very lucky to have the right kind of to be surrounded by the right kind of teachers, and my family, of course, who was extremely encouraging. So while I was studying there, I sort of realized that I was missing. I wouldn't say missing. Like I wouldn't. Yeah, I was kind of disinterested in like studies a bit, and I used to spend a lot of my time sculpting. Like I used to just go to the sculpture studio and start sculpting, and my teacher actually noticed this. And when you're in boarding school, you're with the teacher 6 months of the year, you know, so your teacher probably knows, well, not probably, definitely knows you better than your parents do in some cases. So she wrote to my parents saying that this child has to do something in sculpture, in art is what she said, not sculpture. I want to talk a little bit about my sculpting process. For me, I personally like to work from life because number one, I've been trained in that, so I feel very comfortable doing it. And by working from life, I mean that I like to work from a live model. So if I'm doing somebody's portrait, they should be sitting in front of me. If I'm doing somebody's nude sculpture or clothes sculpture, I'd like to have them present while I'm sculpting. For example, this sculpture is called Nicole 2022, and I made this sculpture a couple of months ago. So I had actually met Nicole at a social event here in Florence, and she was a really pretty girl, and I was instantly like, you know, when I saw her, I was like, oh, definitely I want to do this girl's portrait. And she is African American, really nice person, like definitely one of my favorite people to talk to, and like, you know, a close friend also now. So you sort of meet people, you're like, okay, you just click and you want to work together. And so I asked her to come to my studio and we worked, and yeah, I did her portrait. It was really fun, like especially like you're doing a portrait of somebody you know so well, and you can take it so far that you've actually I mounted it, done a finished patina. So yeah, I like to work from life. After the sculpting process is over, I make a mold of the sculpture, which is actually for two reasons. It's very handy. One is that it helps me producing multiple editions of the sculpture, which means, okay, if I want to have a resin version, if I want to have plaster version or a bronze version, it can be all produced from the same mold, which I think makes a lot of sense, rather than like, you know, re-sculpting the whole thing again. Or if I feel like, which is never, I would fire my sculpture in terracotta. I refrain from terracotta for one reason, it's because it's heavy, and the other reason is that you have to be, I personally feel like you have to be really careful when hollowing out your sculpture, and if you don't hollow it out properly, it will crack. I mean, it's a beautiful process. I really enjoyed it. I've done it several times, but I personally like to stick with making a mold of the sculpture, and I feel a lot safer when I'm doing it. Like I feel under control. Also want to talk about the post mold making process. So once the mold is ready, I have let me get a mold. Hang on. So this is what a sculpture mold looks like. It's hollow. That's the silicon, the yellow part. The white part is all plaster. Yeah. I pour the material I'm working in inside the mold, and then I take out the cast. So whether it's plaster, resin or bronze, I will see what I'm going to work on. And right now I'm working in a lot of resin. I've got a lot of resin things going on in the studio. And I really like that medium because it's very light, very easy to ship, and you save a lot of money on shipping. So it's really good about that. The other thing that I want to talk about is like my patina process. So I like to have my patina done in using three elements. So one is the acrylic spray paint that I like to use. So it takes like 10 minutes. I like to use it because like, okay, so the drying period is really small. It's like 10 minutes, so it's good. Then it's very easy because you literally just bring it on. The next thing I like to put is colored wax. Now colored wax actually just gives it a more of a richer feeling and makes it like, makes the sculpture like come alive a bit more, which is something I obviously really like. So I like to do that. And the last is a varnishing the sculpture, which adds a bit of a shine to the sculpture, which I think is really nice. And you go to any museum, you look at a sculpture, and I think most of them have these three elements involved, except like in terracotta sculptures it's different, but for bronze, resin or plaster, they definitely use these three elements. What inspires me while I work is that I like to see work that I like to see sculptures that are moving. So I know it's a bit of a like a not superficial, like it's a bit of a vague statement to make, but I kind of like to make my work, I want to create work that's believable, relatable to people. I don't want people to investigate like, what is this? Like, if she's a girl, she should look like a girl. If he's a guy, he should look like a guy. If she's got curly hair, she should have curly hair. So yeah, I also actually look back a lot on art history when I'm focusing on creating a sculpture. It really depends what I'm creating, to be honest. Like, if I'm creating a portrait, it's going to be like, I'm definitely going to look at a Michelangelo portrait, like how did he do it? I sort of question what tools was he using, or how did he sculpt that eye, what muscle is overlapping, what are the subtlety of forms, what expression was he going for, all that. But if I'm sculpting like a bird, now I can't have a bird coming to pose for me, so I'll go take photographs of a bird like from life, like literally outside. I'll just go take photographs of birds, or I'll go to a zoo and just like photograph them and then come back and sculpt. And first, before sculpting, study what's actually going on in a bird. So I'd like to see, okay, what are the major masses of a bird? Like in the human body, we've got three major masses. Like you've got the pelvis, the ribcage, and the skull that connects the whole system together with the help of a spinal column. So you study the similar thing in a bird, just to give it like, more life, and you want people to think it's a bird and not anything else what you're making. You really want your work to be extremely believable, and you want people to feel like I personally like it when people tell me that my work is very deep, it's very romantic, it's very emotional. I really like these words that are described to my sculpture, because that's kind of what I go for. Yeah, I hope this is helpful, and for like more information, you can always like have a look at my Instagram account, because I'm always posting like my process and like what I'm working on currently is there's a lot of stuff going on in the studio. It's been quite busy, but it's been great.